What's going on, everybody? This is part 18 of my carry permit process. As you know, my case was heard, or my brief was distributed to the judges on October 25th. I was told like November 2nd that the ruling would be issued to me on November 5th, and then it would go public sometime after that. So needless to say, I got that back. And the other guy that's with me, Mark, his case was heard or distributed to the judges on the 22nd of October, and his opinion came out on the 7th, November 7th, a couple days after mine. So this is where we stand. I was denied, and the opinion that was written by the appellate division was, to say it nicely, an incomplete piece of shit. There was a complete lack of due process in this case. The two judges, I didn't even get the full court, full panel of 3, which is, you're supposed to, because that alleviates the tie. But I guess they already knew they were going to deny me or rule negatively, so it didn't matter. So I only got 2 judges. Their ruling was incomplete because they didn't address the issues and valid points that was made in my brief. My brief touched on 4 or 5 different subjects that all lead to a certain outcome, and they didn't touch on any of them. They recited the same old crap that they deny everybody with, and actually openly admitted that they do an interesting balancing approach, which is off the table according to the Supreme Court. And they also admitted that they issue or deny permits on a case-by-case basis, which has also been taken off the table because of the Supreme Court. So they, in a way, kind of shot themselves in the foot if you're looking at it with logic. They also ruled that I didn't have a constitutional right to carry a concealed weapon, or I don't have a constitutional right to have a concealed weapons permit. However, that is not what I applied for. So I guess in stupid terms, if you could have enough money to have a very good lawyer, I guess I could walk around open carrying, because they didn't say I couldn't open carry. They said I couldn't get a permit to carry a concealed weapon. But New Jersey's permit is not a concealed weapons permit. New Jersey has, their permit is called a, quote, permit to carry, end quote. So I never applied to have a concealed weapons permit. I never applied to open carry. I applied for a permit to carry. Let that sink in, because their ruling didn't state that. Other sections of it talk about carrying outside your home in general. So that's why it's probably not a good idea to try to fight semantics on this. But in reality, they did say concealed. And it's not a concealed permit that I asked for. Nor was that my prayer of relief that I asked for. So no due process because they did not read past the synopsis of the brief. My brief is with appendixes like 65 pages. New Jersey's brief was 10 pages. And my reply brief to that was 29 pages, including appendages and stuff. There's no way that anybody, even down to a first grade English teacher, could come up with an excuse or could tell me that they actually read the brief. Because if they read their brief, read the whole thing, they wouldn't have wrote their opinion the way they wrote it. A lot of things were left out, and they were left out on purpose so they didn't shoot themselves in the foot even more. They stayed away from the main argument, or one of the two main arguments, which is about the Siccardi rule. They said they mentioned it once, but they didn't go into why we claim that the Siccardi rule was bad. That's because they know it is. They know the law is illegal, so they didn't want to dive into that at all because, they would get smacked around in federal court. So instead of, instead of answering or touching on to that section, they just revert it back to saying, well, because of the Siccardi rule says this, that means it's okay for us to do that. Well, if the Siccardi rule is bad law, if the Siccardi rule is an illegal statute, law, rule, whatever you want to call it, then if you take that out of the scenario, then they make their whole argument, their whole opinion is thrown out the window. So they don't even address that in the brief. They just blindly, on purpose, overlooked it. And when it comes to the case-by-case determinations, which they're not allowed to do, that the Supreme Court said twice, New Jersey said, well, yes, we do that, and we can because we're different. That public safety and because of the dense population of New Jersey makes them different. Basically. Not in those words, but that's what they said. And mind you, their opinion was 9 pages long. Now, I can't even get a courtesy of getting a double-digit opinion, a double-paged opinion. So Mark ended up getting his and was also denied his section of his case, but his opinion was actually even worse than mine. Still 9 pages, but he had 3 judges, and was actually worse than mine. It makes you even think that I don't even think they read the synopsis in his, because they went on a complete different rant. Spent a few of the pages of his brief talking about stuff we already know and rehashing, reiterating what the law says. We get that. It has nothing to do with what we have brought up in our brief. For me, in mine, they actually quoted Heller, where Heller said that they cannot do case-by-case basis, but then at the bottom said that I misinterpreted it. That's plain language, people. If the Supreme Court says you can't do A, and you're doing A, that's not very fucking difficult to figure out that you're in the wrong. But New Jersey's don't look at it that way. I'm the one that misinterpreted it. Doesn't make sense. I don't want to get too much into Mark's opinion, but he was denied. Now, we did have an idea that we were going to get a negative response in the appellate division. That said, thanks to everybody who has been sharing and donating our GoFundMe page, we've raised a good amount of money. It's not enough to keep the fight going, but we reached out. We have talked to about 4 different lawyers. A few of them were interested, but we can't afford it, or they just don't have time to get caught up to speed, because our case is very unique, very different. You can't just throw out the same old arguments that New Jersey residents have had. This is at a different angle, so they would need to get caught up to speed. But we did have one particular lawyer that has now joined us, probably one of the top 2A lawyers, at least in New Jersey, and has the ability, legal authority to argue at the Third Circuit. That said, we are appealing. Everybody, I want to let you know that we are appealing. It's not over. The fat lady did not sing. We are going completely balls deep on this. We are appealing right now. We're getting everything together to file the appeal to the New Jersey Supreme Court. Now, that was not the original intent. We originally wanted to go straight federal after this level, but because of the Rogers case, the other case in New Jersey, who now is primed to submit their petition for cert at the Supreme Court by December 20th. We wanted to give that case time to run through. So we're not down their throat per se, and we might be kind of forcing the hand, and we don't want that. So we're going to let that case play out. So we're going to go to the Supreme Court of New Jersey first. If we don't get our answer there, obviously we will go federal. We will continue until there's no money left in our account, our GoFundMe account. That said, hopefully everybody who's a member of my page, friends, family, like-minded people, continue to donate $5 or whatever you can, and share it. Maybe someone out there just gets out to someone who's a very wealthy person and can help us out a little bit. But every single dollar counts. Every single dollar, other than the fee that we have to pay to GoFundMe and taxes, every single cent other than that goes directly to this case, either from making copies of our brief to filing motions, filing notices of appeal, paying for the lawyer, paying for retainers, paying for research. We go to the National Archives, and you got to pay per page to make copies. Everything like that, that's what it goes to. Not one single penny goes to me or Mark. It goes directly to the case, and if we win, everybody wins. Or at least I should say all law-abiding citizens win. It's time that we really take the fight hard to New Jersey. Just recently they posted, I think it's like 183 new bills regarding firearms have been issued and ready to go for the next session in New Jersey alone. Just New Jersey. It's like 183. Not all of them are bad, but they're the same old bills that get rehashed every 2 years. And most of the time they fail because, you know, if we have a Republican governor, he just vetoes them. Or they're just so dumb that they don't get through. Or some of the ones that are very good on our behalf. Like there's a bill right now that's, will take away the requirement that you're only allowed to buy one handgun in 30 days. So that would allow you to buy 2 or 3 in a month if you could afford it. That's a good bill. I guess if the person passes his background, does everything, why do they have to wait a whole another month before he can buy another one? It also kind of hurts somebody who's, you know, going to a gun show and wants to buy 2 handguns, and maybe they're both historical, but New Jersey doesn't let that happen. And there is a way to get a waiver to buy more than one, but by the time the waiver is actually approved, that's 3 or 4 months have been gone by, and you might as well have just picked it up the next month. So it's defeats the purpose. Now that's a good bill though, right? That bill will never see the light of day. So the Republicans and independent 2A people in our assembly, well, they keep rehashing those bills and putting them out there to show that you know, that they're trying. But it's fake trying, because those bills were never going to get passed. There's a bill right now that will eliminate justifiable need. Completely eliminate it. But that's never even going to get a vote. It's never going to be brought up for a vote. You know, even if it did, it wouldn't pass. But it will never even get, the Senate president will never let that bill be voted on. So it's a false sense that some people are putting you know, pro-gun bills on, but they're never going to get voted on. But then there's 100 gun control measures that will get at least a vote. Even if they don't pass, they're at least going to get a vote. And with the governor that we have now, there's going to be some that get through. We just going through a magazine ban here that eliminates magazines over 10 rounds, which is being litigated, but I think it's like December 10th, December 12th, something like that. If it's not litigated by then, the ban goes into effect, and then it's illegal to have them. So they already went from 15 to 10. They didn't even wait a full year, and there's a bill that makes it go from 10 to 5. Five rounds of magazines. So this is the reason why we need to fight, because I'm going to tell you this right now, people who are watching this. I know it's a little long-winded, but the dumb shit that happens here, okay? People move out of New Jersey left and right. Even the Democrats, they move out of the state. There's like 77,000 people. I think a month is the number. 77,000 people a month move out of New Jersey, and there's not enough people moving in. So, where do you think those people are going? You know, those people are, you know, say they're old Democrats, people who are 50 or whatever, and they're moving out because they can't afford the taxes, and they move to Florida, they move to Texas, they move to other pro-gun states. Next thing you know, those red states start to turn a little pink, then a little neutral color, and eventually they're going to turn blue. So, and in that process, they're going to bring stupid gun laws with them. So we gotta really fight and nip this in the butt before it spreads through the country. And not only we have that on the East Coast, California is New Jersey of the West Coast, and that shit spreads too. That's going to spread into Arizona, Nevada, and creep toward Texas from the west. And even if the states stay blue, or stay red, excuse me, they're going to have more and more people integrate into their society to have the view that only police officers should have firearms. They don't believe in the full realm of the Bill of Rights, and they rather you be slave to the state and slave to the government than be your own person and be free and have rights. So this needs to be knocked in the, nipped in the butt here. California, I know there's some good people out there trying to fight California as well. They got a 9th Circuit case that actually ruled in our favor. But it's the 9th Circuit. And that has to, right now, is in the process of, going through en banc to see if they're going to hear that case en banc. And if it does, and it gets overturned, then you got to fight into the Supreme Court. And it's going to be a mess. That's years probably away from getting an answer. So, I mean, there's a lot going on, and we should have the better, we should be better situated in the Supreme Court right now. So, if a good case gets there, it could change, and all this is mute. But without cases coming up through the pipeline, we're never going to win. We got to keep pressing through, and more people, even though you're going to get denied, we need to show that we want our rights, or they're going to take them. You know what I mean? That's simple. And you got too many people out there that are willing to get some sort of entitlement program or free shit, or whatever you want to call it, in return for less freedoms. Not me. You can keep your government assistance, you can keep your government health care, you can keep your food stamps, you can keep any kind of discounts for veterans, you can keep all that. I don't care. What I want is my constitutional rights. Right? Everything else will fall in line after that. If I don't have the right to speak, if I don't have the right to go to church, if I don't have the right to assemble peacefully, if I don't have the right to protect myself, if I don't have the right to keep the government from illegal and search and seizures, if I don't have the right to plead the fifth so I don't incriminate myself, the Bill of Rights doesn't mean shit at that point, and we are not free. We're not free at that point. So, we got to fight back. That's my little 2 cents for today. Thanks for listening. Peace.